Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, everywhere. There's going to be a clip of this or a recording thereof this going live out there. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little tired today. A very restless night. Not just with me, but with the aminals. They were very restless last night. So that means a lot of sleepless nights sometimes, which makes me angry. And, you know, I lose my cool, and it ain't cool. And I apologize for that. But we all lose our cool from time to time. Getting back to it is today's title. So, welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Again, I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson. And we welcome everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what demographic you come from. We welcome you all. Just because we talk about everything from here, except for two topics. And those that follow on a regular basis know the two topics that we don't talk about. And we'll get into that. But we talk about horror movies, sci-fi movies, comic books, comic book movies, comic book artwork, my comic book stuff that I'm working on, so on and so forth down the line. And the two things that we don't talk about here are politics and religion. Because when we start talking about those two items, people start losing their damn minds and they fly off the handle with some of the most asinine shit you can think of. So those are the two topics we don't talk about, but we talk about everything else under the sun. So if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. So getting back to it, there's a lot of meanings to that, especially here on a homestead. And I've got chickens, I've got ducks, I've got geese, I've got pigs, I've got dogs, cats, all that good stuff, mousers, all that good stuff. And so when things aren't completed the way they should have been a long time ago, um, you know, you have situations like we had last night. Had we had the pig enclosure done the way it was supposed to be and all that good stuff, we would have more sleep in our system because they would be able to get up, go outside, do their business, and go back to bed. You know, but since we don't have that fixed, we've got it fixed for the chickens. Absolutely, 100%. And once I get the main chicken coop done, then we can move all the chickens over there and get the pigs in that enclosure where the chickens are now. It's just a lot of moving and working parts. So, for those of you that don't know, don't have a homestead or never been to a homestead, there's a lot of moving parts going on because you got to keep everybody happy and comfortable. You know, it's just like you. You want to be comfortable in your own place. So, just like your animals want to be comfortable in their own place as well. So, you know, so that's the things I'm going to be working on, and that's the getting back to it part when it all boils down to it. Because we've been letting things slack and not work on things the way they should be worked on. You run out of supplies, you run out of money, all that good stuff. So, you know, you have to find what you can, use what you can, and do your best. So, but I just printed out the script to my next voice acting gig, so that's a plus in and of itself. Got quite a few lines this time on this project. It is a Power Rangers fan film, and they are making a series out of it. And it's going to be fun. I'm a high ranking official on the bad guy side with the voice that I've picked up, so that's going to be fun and exciting all the way around. That's not the voice for it, but and on that same token, the same note, I'm looking forward to more and more stuff like that to come in, just because it's fun to do the voice acting side. As a lot of you say out there that my face was made for radio, and so I thank you for that. I've always been told that I should be doing some voice stuff somewhere, either on the radio, which now radio stations have, you know, video going on with it as well, so you can see the commentators out there. So don't forget to like, share, and follow, and I'll follow you back. Now, if you've got like one picture, no pictures, or three pictures, I'm probably not going to follow you back just because most of those are just fake accounts. Let's get real. All right. Those of you that don't have a name and just use user, most likely a fake account, those type things. But, to each their own. And I get it. Some people don't want to use their picture as a profile picture. They don't want to put a name out there, all that good stuff, just because they're so private and secretive and things of that nature. And everything that they post is a repost. And I get that. Now, if you've got a bunch of reposts, okay, cool. I'll probably follow you back anyway. But just remember, like, share, follow, and I will. Now, there is a little bell up there as well that you can hit, and it lets you know when I go live, when I post content and things of that nature. Because I do try to post on a semi-regular basis. Not that I post all the time, but I post my, works like this out there, which this will be my next video out there when it happens. This little guy will be out there. This is a commission piece for someone out there working on their second piece. They've got a third piece that I'm working on as well. I'm coloring in their second piece here. This is a mashup between Kingdom Blade and Blade Runner, where Deckard here is fighting the darkness from Kingdom Hearts, and then Sora up here is fighting the replicates from Blade Runner right there. So that's the stuff I do on a regular basis. I'm working on all kinds of stuff right now. I'm working on an 8-page comic book. It's like a little ash can edition that lets fill in a story for a company called Legacy Comics with his character Condry. And this one is called Condry Man's Best Friend. It's a fill-in story when the character was a little bit younger, showing how he got basically where he got in life. And then I'm also working on my own stuff. As you see, an unfinished painting of Ozzy Osbourne back here behind me, right there. And the other one's sitting over there on an easel, waiting to be painted up. So I've got those, and then those will be turned into shirts, just like this one here is based off a painting I did. And I just noticed that one of my binders was digging into one of my canvases. In my most controversial canvas to date. A lot of people commented on that one, and thought it was very sacrilegious, if you will. It's only Deadpool, saying the line from the movie, "Oh, I'm the Marvel Jesus," those type things. So, even my first ex-mother-in-law had to comment and chime in on that one. Which she got an education on that real quick. So, but welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the follows. Like I said, if you do like, share, and follow, I will follow you back. But we talk about everything here, except for those two subjects, politics and religion. We do not talk about those. And if you do want to talk about those, there's somebody out there that has a show just for those, just for either one of those, or for both of those, and you can go find them because I'm not your people when it comes to that. Now, if you want to discuss it off show, we can completely talk about it off show. You can hit me up in the DMs and we can talk religion and politics all day long. But I'm not going to do it here on my show. We will talk aliens, alien abduction, alien encounters. We will talk Bigfoots. Where are you, buddy? Oh, you're too far in the back. He's farther back in the back than I thought. But we'll talk about anything under the sun. I mean, let's see what else we got going on here. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff happening, moving parts right now. And then a lot of stuff I've got to get back to. That's why today's title. And with that, that means there's going to be a lot of outside work because it is starting to get colder. We want a peace of mind as well here on the homestead. And I appreciate the likes, Lady D. Or is it Lady Di or Lady D? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. And what makes a good show is everybody coming in here and uh, liking the show, sharing the show, and then talking back and forth. Because again, horror movies, sci-fi movies, comic books, comic book movies. We'll even talk Hot Wheels because I've got a ton, not a ton, but a lot of Hot Wheels sitting right here next to me. You know, and apparently YK is going to donate $10. Sweet, awesome, thank you. And you know, if you guys with the likes and the shares and any gifts that get given here on the platform goes back into the business. It doesn't go into my pockets. It doesn't go into my electric bill, even though that's part of the business. You know, all the money that comes in definitely goes back into printing processes and product. These things ain't cheap. The refills are semi cheaper. To get an ink refill packet and refill each one of these instead of buying a new marker on a regular basis, because I can spend $12 on a bottle of ink that can refill this about 5 times, 6 times, something like that. But to buy one of these, it's $9 a shot. So you got to look at everything. Everything you look at, especially when you own it, when you have your own business. You know, you look at every aspect, every avenue, and you find out what's cheaper, what's the cheapest way. Excuse me, those type things. And it's even like buying these little bitty things of watercolors, because these things will last forever for the most part. And even if they dry up, they're still good and usable because get them wet again. Boom, done. Now, like this marker right here is dried up. I haven't got my E01 right there to refill it with yet, but I will. And once I refill it, I'll get some new nibs for it because um, these nibs are nice and hard and dry. So they pop out right there, just like that. And then you can get a new nibs and refill it and refill the whole thing. And boom, whole new pen. Welcome, Casey. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I see you sliding in right there. We're talking about a little bit of everything today, Casey. We are talking about getting back to it, which in this case is getting back to the homesteading side of things, uh, so that we can get the pigs outside on a regular basis. So that they have a safe enclosure to sleep in, and that way they don't, you know, get attacked by anything while they're trying to sleep at night. Because we do have coyotes here in the area, and I heard them go off just the other night, thinking because it's been a long time since I'd heard them, and I just thought that thought like probably a day or two before I heard them again, and uh, it was probably 11:30 or so whenever we got woken up by bacon bit, and and then I heard them out there in the cow field. So it was just like, oh, I hadn't heard you guys in a while, and then boom, here they are, sounding off, letting us know, hey, we're still around. So, um, but we've been having a lot of disciplinary issues with our animals here lately. Our pup decided he wanted to pluck some feathers from one of our chickens and shell shock a few, by doing what he was doing. So much to the point we had like 6 of them shoved up under the porch that I'm building and trying to hide. And then let's see, the pigs have been unruly here lately, and it's just the changing of everything from hot to cold. And welcome to the show, Dennis. Good to see you here. I'm glad some of you are awake at this time of day. I know I don't want to be, but my body sometimes is like, no, screw it, you're up. Congratulations. And and so here we are. That's why I have 412 Productions show. And but no, we talk about everything from here. Anything new happening in you guys' lives? Dennis, Casey, anybody that's here? Anything happening? You know, Kirkle, anything happening in your life out there? Anything exciting and fun? You taking a trip to Hawaii yet? Bahamas, Jamaica, anything like that? No, I'm not going to sing the song, Casey. You're safe. Casey just loves it when I sing. It's okay. I get it. My singing is not for everyone. Let me just tell you that. I'll have to get another one of those here pretty soon. So, what's going on out there with everybody? I did pick up some new terabytes memory cards right here. Some 1 terabyte memory cards for my camera, which means I can do a lot longer recordings, with it, and so that's exciting. And yes, this is a true 1 terabyte. I plugged it in, made sure via my card reader right here, just to make sure, because a lot of people are saying no, that's only in gigabytes and stuff like that. Well, it is 999 gigabytes, which is 1 terabyte. Yes, it's 1 gigabyte shy of a terabyte, but it's still 1 terabyte card. And I did get this off of the TikTok shop. And so, it came in a 2 pack for a relatively cheap price, a lot cheaper than you can go buy a 64 gig or 128 gig at the store. Well, I'll tell you that. I think this was $20 for the pair, and you're spending 56 or 40 or $50 for a 128 gig at the store. You know, so I was kind of happy to get two for the price of one, basically, and or a lot less than the price of one, actually. And so I've already got one plugged into my uh, camera over here, but I have not, you know, done any recording since I put it in there to see, how many recordings I can get off of that one, which will be fun and exciting. That's my ghost hunting camera, so as well as these two little guys right here. That now everything is working again, where I can pull everything into the computer and get my recordings off, so I can start listening to the recordings. Because like sometimes I'll just set these off, in here. Maybe that's maybe that's why people are leaving, Casey, because nobody can hear me. I'm sitting here jibber jabbering and nobody can hear me. Can you hear me now? Because no, I see what's going on. My battery life is dying on this one. So let me switch over. Hold on. I'm going to switch over to this one because this one's battery life is dying. And that is why you couldn't hear me. The battery life is dying. It's dying. So, what I was saying was, before I was so rudely interrupted by no sound. And maybe that's why nobody could be hearing me. Because I did check this before I turned it on and it said it was good. Liar. All right, so, but like I was saying, I got this little guy right here. It's a 1 terabyte uh, SD card, and I got two of them for the price of one, and for a lot less than a lot of things. Um, and because like I was saying, normally you can go find a like 128 gig at the store for like 20 or $30 or something like that, or maybe even higher depending on the store you're in. But I got two for the price of one, basically, because I picked up two SD cards for like $20, you know. And I've got one already in my camera. I just haven't had a chance to uh, do any recordings with it yet, and so it's just sitting there chilling. And then I'm trying to see, because some of these and these don't have an SD card where I can put in them, but that's cool. They're deep enough. I mean, 256 hours of recording time on either one of these, you know, depending on which setup you have. But like I was saying, I can now upload my recordings directly into the computer now. So that's working again. So that's a plus. And but yeah, we're just talking a little bit about everything here today, Casey. But thanks for the showing up, and thanks for the heads up that nobody could hear me. And again, that's probably why people were leaving. It's just like, well, I see his mouth moving, but maybe it's a mime. Maybe it's a mime show, you know. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast booth of 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson. As you're looking at a piece of my artwork on my shirt right now, and but welcome. But yeah, no, like I was saying earlier, before maybe power went out on my recording. I don't know. I know I'm recorded completely up here on this one because it's going and it's working just fine. Um, so I might be posting this video over here or whatever. We'll see. We'll see where it's at when it's all said and done. Because we've got four different places that things get dropped to. We got YouTube. We got my business page for 412 Productions. I got my personal page, and then right here it gets dropped as well. Um, Instagram is the only one that gets a holdout. It will get some recordings here and there, but not from here, uh, which it needs to. And I understand that. But I also need to get one of my platforms up and running where I can broadcast to everything at the same time, meaning YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, and TikTok all at the same time off of one platform. And there's several out there that do it. It's just I don't want to spend the money, because that is a monthly subscription, or I mean, you can pay for the year and not worry about it for the entire year. But again, you got to have them funds in hand, and when you're spending money over on a lot of different other things, lights, phones, um, internet, water, everything else, and your mortgage, you know, there's a little bit left over, and you don't want to be like, oh well, I can use that on this. No, I can't, because what if this happens? What if this happens? What if one of the cars breaks down? What if one of the, you know, what if we have to go to the hospital? What if all those ifs, ands, or buts that come into play? Being an adult, which, like everybody says, being an adult sucks. You know, let's go back to the days of when we were kids, and and then a lot of people were like, no, let's not do that either. How about we go here at this time? Because some of us, like Casey and myself, we grew up in a totally different era than everybody else on here. I mean, I think Dennis might have grown up around the same era, if he's still here. But I don't know who all's here because I it only shows me certain things, and sometimes it doesn't even show me that. I'll have people talking and it's showing me zero, viewers, and it's just like, well, how are you talking then? you know, is this from the future? Is this from the past? What's going on? Um, but those type of fun things. So, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing how long of a recording I can do with this 1 terabyte card. Now, therein lies issues as well, because my hard drive spaces are filling up quick. I mean, I do still have, a lot of free space out there, but let's just say I do use up a complete 1 terabyte card on a recording all the way overnight for 12 straight hours, you know, or more, because what it does is block it off in 30-minute intervals as it's recording. So it clips it at 30 minutes. It's just under 30 minutes on the clips, and then it just starts the next one over, or the next one, and then it starts the next one after that. 29 minutes and like 54 seconds or whatever. It's very close to the 30 minutes clip, And then you got to go back and watch every one of those clips just to find anything or to hear anything. Just like if you go back on my page, you can see some of my paranormal stuff that happens on a regular basis around. Yeah. And it's fun and exciting. It keeps you on your toes sometimes when you're seeing shadow figures, when you're seeing or having things thrown across the room, or like the picture, which is which is right here, not the one that was here. Dexter was here, and it goes flying off. Those type things. So, and I give you two different angles because I've got a camera up here, I've got a camera at the back of the room, I've got a camera directly here. I got two cameras right here, so you get to see it firsthand if anything moves or happens in the room. Just like Casey, I don't know if he's still here or not, but he saw an orb type of a thing whoops, go down from. It actually came at an angle first. It goes, it goes from over here, and it comes down this way, and then it comes down, and it's a really weird looking orb type of a thing that came down. But it did literally came from this angle, from up here, which wouldn't do that if it was just a dust particle or something like that. A dust particle would just fall because there's no wind going on here. My fan's not on. I don't have the AC going. But Casey did see it, and it came at an angle, and then it came down, over here on my left shoulder. You know, and so maybe we'll see that again. And he had the eagle eyes to pinpoint it out, which was awesome. I'm here, just sending likes. I appreciate it. The likes help. We're close to 5,000 likes already in that popular live category with the likes already. Thank you very much, everybody. And so we have all kinds of stuff happen here. That's why a lot of things don't bother me when it comes to the paranormal side because I've had it all here. I've had the poltergeist activities. I've had disembodied voices. I've had shadow figures. I've had full body apparitions. I've had and these are things that I've seen and heard, but there's no documented proof of them other than the little bits and pieces that I've shown you guys of orbs and the picture getting thrown off of the wall over here or the refrigerator, with no rhyme or reason, and things of that nature. So, and then the EVP clips that we've had, and where it's talking over the sound in the background, and you can tell the difference of the two. Um, but we get, like I said, we get all kinds of EVPs on a regular basis, and all kinds of poltergeist activities, and just fun stuff. It's stuff that doesn't bother me, um, just because I've seen stuff since I was a kid. So, you know, and I welcome it. I'll be your conduit. I'll be your Huckleberry. Oh lordy. But no, lots of stuff has to get done, and I've got to get started on all of it. Out there for the animals, so that we can get the pigs, like I said, outside and situated to where they're comfortable. To where they are safe and warm is what it boils down to. And you know, with all of that being said, too, once you start running out of supplies, you hit snags. Absolutely. And you don't want to hit snags, but you do. That's why I try to find as much free material as I possibly can. Construction work sites are the best, especially the stuff that they've thrown away. People on Marketplace that are giving away free wood and things of that nature. I pick up pretty much everything I can. That's why I've got a deck that I'm building out of repurposed deck boards. I'm building a back patio right now, and it's built out of drywall pallets that are super heavy duty, and then the decking is going right over the top of that. After everything was leveled out, and then I've got a funky little corner that I'm doing. I didn't just do a square corner, a nice little angle. I had to go a little funky with it, so it's cut off and looks cooler. That's the appeal of it. It looks cooler. And then once it's all said and done, we can set lawn chairs up there and sit up there and watch the birds and the animals and stuff like that. You so and it'll have a rail on it and all that good stuff. So it's going to be cool when it's all said and done. It just takes time. Sometimes I don't have the time to work on it because, like right now, I've got to get this comic book finished. I mean, there is a deadline for it, but it's not till next year. I got to get these finished and get the other one started. I've got some Christmas presents to work on that I'm doing right now as well, and it's just little things like that. And Christmas is literally right around the corner. Here we are 7 days into December, and before you know it, X amount of wake ups, and boom, here's Christmas. You know, and so to get back to everything, I need about 10 of me, cloned. Multiplicity. Let's go. I just don't want to be that one clone. I like pizza. you know, and if you know, you know. If you don't know Multiplicity, please go watch it. It is a great flick. It is a great. It's a drama. It's not a drama. What is it? It's a comedy, but it's very well done. It's got Roddy or not no Andy McDowell. Is it Andy or Rod? And Michael Keaton. So it's a great fun flick. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's about a construction worker. He owns his own construction firm, and he wants more time to himself and his wife, so he gets himself cloned. You know, and then it just the hilarity ensues from there. So she touched my pepe. Childish humor. It's okay. And so it's just fun stuff. It's a sci-fi comedy flick basically because it does bring into account a cloning machine. Like they are cloning things now, but this actually just is like a 3D printer for a clone is what it is. Um, and so all that good stuff. It's just fun stuff. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Multiplicity, highly recommended. Great fun flick. If you want a date night idea, there you go. Get that movie queued up on the streaming services and watch it. But I've been watching a lot of other stuff too here lately. A lot of horror movies that I would recommend. Don't ask me what they are right this moment. I'll have to do a comprehensive uh, video on that just because um, I've been watching a lot. And, I put it on because my TV is right over here, right over there. And I'll turn it on while I'm doing artwork. And, I'll glance over at it periodically and I'm listening to it and listening to the everything unfold. And there's been a lot of low budget horror that I've been watching there's some of them have been really good. Um, the 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 Lost Patient, I think it's a foreign flick. It's dubbed with American dubbed. You know, Terrifier, the first one. Wow, B movie, but it was wow. Yeah, it was over the top. A lot of people don't even like the Terrifier films, the Terrifier franchise. They've got another one getting ready to come out. But yes, Art the Clown, sitting right up here, right above Ozzy's head, right there on the saw blade. Um, a lot of people don't like it. Period. It is over the top with the violence, with um, the comedic value as well, especially since Art the Clown doesn't speak. It's just his mannerisms and his horn, all that good stuff. And just especially if you saw the first one with the sawing in half, not realistic. Let's get real. Now, had he had a different type of saw, absolutely. But a little hacksaw, he would have been there for forever. You know, depending on the blade and all that good stuff. Now I know a hacksaw can do some damage. Trust me, I've ended up with them in my legs and just like tree saws and other saws and things like that. Uh, yes, yes, sawed in half by hanging upside down. Yes, that's what you call the cooter cut. Instead of the director's cut, that's the cooter cut. Hold on, just a second. You're still gonna hear me. I'm running over here to grab some drinkage, so you get to see me in my gray sweatpants. You know, there we go. All right, so, um, But yes, there's a lot of stuff that really wouldn't happen in that film. But so goes many horror films. Okay, because for some creators, the more over the top, the better when it comes to a sell of a horror movie. And you got to go back to the Ninth Gate, All Hallows Eve, to get your start with Leon's vision. Um, what is it? Ninth Gate is a short film. I think it's only absolutely. And kudos to you, Casey. I'm kind of surprised you actually saw it. I applaud you. I do. I seriously do. Um, I know horror isn't a lot of people's forte, uh, and, and I get it. You know, a lot of people like their romantic comedies, their romance, their dramas, their thrillers, and things like that. Um, but me, I've always been a horror buff ever since I can remember. I mean, hell, the first one of the first movies I saw when it came out, and my parents took me to it at a drive-in, was Jaws. You know, when it first came out, I was like 4 years old. Now, do I remember the experience? Not 100%. I remember seeing the monster on the screen. You know, just like King Kong. And they said I hid underneath the dashboard when that one was going on, about around the same time frame. It might have even been a double feature. You know, Kong was on first, the old black and white stuff, and then Jaws. Um, but but kudos. I mean, I applaud you, buddy, because for people not to like horror movies, that's like asking a tree not to produce oxygen. You know, I remember The Exorcist when it came out in theaters, and that right there is a good segue on that, and not the little writing device. Um, because that one did not have a great um, showing when it came out in theaters, but it is one of the hugest cult classic movies around today. But when it came out, it was almost boycotted. What up, dude? Welcome back to the broadcast booth. I think I sent you a message. I don't know if you ever read it or not, but it's out there. I think I sent you a message. I sent a couple of people messages because they wanted some merchandise. But welcome to the broadcast booth. I appreciate you being back. And and so The Exorcist, which I do have Linda Blair's autograph as Reagan in my kitchen underneath an Exorcist picture that a friend of mine painted. It was an airbrush, but it was a print of his. Um, it did not have a great showing when it came out. It was one of the weakest showings in a horror movie. I can't remember the reason why. Not right off the top of my head. But it gained popularity not too long after that. People were screaming and leaving the movie. It was too much for many. I was giggling. And I get that. And that's, I laugh at a lot of movies, especially in theaters, when people are freaking flip out, you know. It's like when we a bunch of military guys, we were in Texas, I believe. I think it was Texas. I can't remember exactly which state we were in at the time, but Paranormal Activity had just came out in theaters. And we went and saw it, and I've told this story before. But we're sitting on a row, probably about mid range, and we've been dying laughing throughout the movie. Now some guys, now some people are in the theater all like wide eyed and gripping the seats and white knuckling it and all that stuff, and we're laughing, and I'm laughing for sure. And the very last scene is she comes crawling towards the camera as it's laid on its side, and comes crawling towards the camera, and then her face changes to the skeleton. A whole row of African Americans in front of us that had been, you know, cringing the whole movie. Literally, when that scene popped the face and, she gets real close and the face changes into the skull, they literally are jumping over the seat screaming as we're laughing our asses off, you know. And, so that was a good time had by all. Uh, and they literally were jumping the seats to get out of that theater. But that was the end scene, and that was the jump scare that they wanted to have and the reaction that they wanted to have. And you hear what Casey just talked about for The Exorcist when it first came out back in the 70s. Um, you hear that about movies today, and I think it's all just a bunch of hype and a bunch of BS. Because I go to these same movies that everybody's and nobody's running out of the theaters. They didn't like The Conjuring Last Rites, which that movie doesn't even make sense. Um, but it was a good movie all the way around. It's just it didn't make sense. They didn't call the demon by its name, but yet they still expelled the demon, um, even though it was the very first demon that they dealt with in their careers. You know, but um, they didn't have a priest handing out holy water at our theater. You know, um, they didn't have. Now they did have a disc. Did they have the disclaimer? I'm trying to think if they had the disclaimer, like everybody said that they had, from a priest, you know, blessing the congregation via video. Um, I don't think they did at ours, and nobody went screaming out of the theater. I was laughing, and I just saw an orb go by up here, and Annabelle was scary to me. I think the only reason Annabelle is scary is because of the doll that they created. Because had you had in the movie, if you had the real Annabelle doll, which is a Raggedy Ann doll, how scary is that? I mean, seriously, a little rag doll with red uh, yarn for hair is scary. You know, it's just like so they had to beef it up. You know, and Annabelle creation. I mean, all the Conjuring films are great. All the way around. And you do have your flaws with them. But any movie you're going to find a flaw with. Lord of the Rings, you're going to find flaws with because well that didn't say that in the book. Those type things. Even though he tried to keep it as close to the book as possible and filmed it all at the same time, and then went back in and did all of the special effects and stuff like that. Um, you know, but to shoot an entire movie that is like 4 hours long per movie, you know, especially the unedited director's cuts, it's and then to go in and release them, X amount of years apart while they're editing, all that good stuff. But you're gonna find holes in any movie. It doesn't matter. Just like any superhero movie, you're gonna find where they've taken the storyline from 3 or 4 different storylines, timelines in the continuity of the comic, and that's what made the X-Men so blasé in the beginning, because they did try to put in way too many different stories all at the same time, But with the whole Conjuring series, the Annabelles, the Conjuring, um, what was the other one? There's another one in that line that all tie together. Um, but they did really well with them, you know. And what I'd like to see is, a true movie, not a documentary, but a true movie on the Warrens themselves. Um, because you get the documentary, you get, you're thinking of Cars too, because Mater is a hold on, is a serial killer, and they finally realize that 20 years later because he's got all these corpses laying around his yard. because aren't the cars people? And I I haven't watched any Cars or Cars 2. I mean, I watched Cars when it first came out because my kids loved it, but it's not something I'm going to sit there and watch. You know, there's other cartoons that I'd rather enjoy, like my old stuff, like GI Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Herculoids, so on and so forth. I appreciate the laugh. Worth a watch though. No, I get it. All the cartoons and stuff like that, the CGI stuff and all that good stuff. They're worth a watch. And I do try to watch stuff like that. But since I don't have kids in the household anymore, all these new Pixar movies that are coming out, I'm just like, not interested. You know. But I get the appeal, and I appreciate those that enjoy them, and I have no problems with them. And I will probably watch some here and there because the girlfriend still wants me to watch Moana. Haven't watched that one, and she loves it. So it's just one of those things that I'm not a big CGI guy when it comes to a lot of things. And I know that they've used CGI for quite a while. I mean, even in what was it, 1992 Batman, they did some CGI stuff. It wasn't real CGI, but um, it was when he's in the on his balcony and you see him turn and the cape just goes. You can see that that's animated right there. Absolutely. And it's just like whenever they needed some filler space in The Crow with Brandon Lee after he was already passed on because of the gunshot wound that he sustained on the filming of the movie. They actually used his uh, cousin, I think it was, but superimposed his face whenever in between the lightning flashes. But they used his cousin's as a body double because they were very similar in size and shape. And so while he's in the window and the lightning's flashing, every time the flash of light would be Brandon's face, but whenever it would go dark, it would be his cousin's body, as a body double. Since he was already passed on, they didn't get those shots done yet. Uh, so lots of different things. I mean, lots of movies out there that people can uh, recommend to everybody else. It's just like some of the movies I've been watching, like I was talking about. I think it's called The Lost or Last. No, it's Lost Patient. I believe is what it's called. Pretty good thriller. Um, it was very well done, and I believe it's on Prime, Amazon Prime. But it's a recommended movie out there. It's a thriller. It's not a horror movie. Um, it's just one of those that makes you think. And I knew where the movie was going whenever I saw it, especially about 20 minutes in, or maybe less than that. I already knew what was going on, but that's just my brain working on movies. And now there's some movies that I can't tell you which direction they're going to go until the end of the movie, and it's like, oh, okay, I can see how all that correlated by the end of the movie. Because in the words of Forrest Gump, I'm not a smart man. Run, Forrest, run! I used to run. Now, if something's not chasing me, why run? Is how I look at it. But no, tons of great movies out there, no matter what genre it is in. Now, do I watch romantic comedies or romance movies on occasion? Most of my stuff comes from thrillers, sci-fi, horror, uh, action. What else? Occasional western here and there, especially if it's a newer western like Bone Tomahawk, which is a horror western. Cowboys versus Aliens. It is a decent movie. It wasn't great, but it was a decent movie. Daniel Craig is the lead in that one. But so many movies out there you can recommend or be like, nah, you can avoid that one. You know, and like we were talking about the Conjuring universe out there, with all of the different movies that it entails. I want to see a true Warren's movie. No, Greg and Lorraine Warren. You know, and that's the movie that I want to see, showing their younger years whenever they first got into it, kind of like The Last Rites kind of did. Um, and I know we will never get the true story of their lives because they're both passed on. And the youngest or the oldest daughter or the daughter, let's just go that route. Um, is she going to be willing to let somebody do that? With all the good and the bad, would she voice her opinion on the movie? Those type things. So we would probably never get a true representation, kind of like the TV show or the series Monsters that is on Netflix right now, um, which started out with the Menendez brothers, which then went to the Ed Gein, which is going to go to Lizzie Borden. I think there's another one in there where they are telling a portion of the story that's true, but then there's other aspects of the story that they are just throwing in there, ad libbing, and saying this possibly could have happened. You know, so you got to take monsters with a grain of salt because not everything that they are showing you is 100% proof of or truth in those shows. So even though it is a documentary style movie with true aspects, not everything that they're doing that they're showing in there is God's gospel truth, you know. And then using that term, you've got the other side that is like, well, God's gospel isn't truth anyway, those type things. So that's why we don't talk religion and we don't talk politics here. So, but you've got to take movies with a grain of salt, especially if they say are based on true events. You because how much is just showmanship for the movie to get the likes and the money and all that good stuff, as opposed to what actually happened in the moment. You know. Now you can take some things by more truth because of the recordings that you have, and you're hearing everything that's going on because the Warrens at least well, according to the Bible, God loves everyone. So, just like the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. So, according to the gospel. So, yes, you can say that, and that's totally fine. Now, I'm not going to read it for people to lose their minds. If they want to read that themselves, they can. And if they want to lose their minds, that's on them, you know. But, touche, Casey, touche. But, and that's what I like about the Warrens case studies, is that they did recordings, the 8mm recordings, reel to reel, all that good stuff, until they got into the tapes, where they could get the tapes like, I've got one, oh, right here. It's not what they used, but, it's very close. We've got the little cassette tape inside here, dun dun dun, right there, inside of one of these. So, yes, I do have one of these too that picks up voices as well. So I've got 3 recording devices in here, let alone, you know. And so that's the cool thing about the Warren stuff, is that they can take most of their cases and play the tapes and know what's going on. And now, then you have to fill in the gaps between the tapes, because what's happening? How long did it take them to change the reels? How long did it take them to restart the video? Go back, exactly, or come back. It's one of the two, but I think it's go back. That's my what Casey's telling you right there is my super clear EVP, the clearest one I've ever gotten here at the house, and that was in the front room, taken off of this little guy as it was recording. you see some orb activity, and then right about that time, 1 minute and 8 seconds into recording, is whenever it's the the clearest EVP I've ever gotten that says the words, and you can hear it plain as day, and you have to decipher which one it is. It either says "go back" or it says "come back," but you hear "hey, come back, come back," or "hey, go back, go back," and you can hear that on my uh, page. It is posted there for everybody's viewing pleasure out there, and so you can decipher for what your own opinion on what it says. Now, not many people have, you know, chimed in on what they think it says, but a couple of people have. And so, if you want to go check it out, please do. Um, Now, not everything that we do here is paranormal. Okay, we just talk about it. We live it. Like I said, we had an orb just a minute ago. Go right up here. You could see it. I don't remember what time mark it was, but I'll go back and find it because I'll find where I'm talking about it. Be like, hey, an orb just went right here. Those type of things. And Casey and Roy, who's not here because I guess he's sleeping because he's happy that his Hags won last night over a high school team in basketball. And if you follow the college football playoff system, that thing just got thrown into a big mess last night with three of the top 25 teams losing. Ohio State lost to Indiana. Uh, BYU got beat, and Duke beat number 17, Virginia. Is that who it was? I think it was. But three of the top 25 teams that were going to go undefeated just lost, and so now that's going to move some people up in the rankings, or it should. I know number one, number two doesn't hurt each other that much, but for Indiana to come in and beat Ohio State, which was awesome, for the SEC championship, that was cool. Um, Georgia beat Alabama, so that didn't hurt anybody really there other than Alabama, which they should no longer be uh, in the playoff bracket now, but they're still going to find their way in there somehow. I mean, Texas should take the spot of Alabama, um, but we'll see how it all breaks down in the next few days to see who's playing whom and who's in and who's out. You know, so if you're into football, there you go. There's a rough recap. Basketball, it's crazy out there too. No matter what you're into, college or the pros on that, teams are winning that shouldn't be winning, and so on and so forth. But it is what it is. That's how it goes in sports. It's any given Sunday, and now it's any given day of the week because sports seems to be played every day of the week. It doesn't matter anymore. It used to have a set days, Saturday, Sunday, you know, and then Monday came around, and then Thursday came around, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then depending on where you are at the end of the year, you practically have a football game, especially right before the Super Bowl, every day of the week. It seems with the wild cards and this and that and the other, and it just gets crazy out there. So be safe. Be safe in your sports world, people. Be safe. You know. But no, we're here to have some fun with everything. And so, like I said, not everything we talk about is paranormal. Not everything we talk about is comics. Not everything we talk about is, horror movies or sci-fi movies. We talk about real life here too. So, if you're here for any of that, you get to hear some real life stuff every now and again. So, it's just like my script over here. Lots more lines this time as it goes. I'm a little bit farther in. Starting it out, start on page 8. That's my first spot of lines, and then it goes from there. I got a bunch more lines. As it's said and done. You know, but I think the cool thing is I don't think my character passes on this time. Now the last voiceover I did, my character was only one and done for the first episode. Champ there, and now I'm Zalvor here, and so that'll be cool. I'm wondering how many voices can you do? I really don't know. Maybe one of these days we'll venture into that realm and see where we can go, because we all know that we can be Casey Kasem, and we're counting them down. And then, you've got other ones, you know, like Fat Bastard from, Austin Powers. Get in my belly! All that good stuff. Corn! I didn't eat corn! But no, I do voices all the time. And it's just fun to actually get roles to, you know, perpetuate that, that side of things. And, but no, because my life is a soundtrack, if you will, when it comes to as a voice actor's uh, sound clip, if you will, as you because after you watch movies for so long and things like that, you start taking lines from movies and you use them in real life. Somebody got filtered out there. So sorry. Um, they're protecting our community's experience by whatever you just said. So, if it was something derogatory, you do a funny Elvis. Thank you very much. Now go get me one of them peanut butter nana sandwiches, mama. Ah. I was twitching my leg down there too. You just couldn't see it. Oh. Now some voices just come much naturally and easier than others, and there's other ones that you have to work on. 100%. It's just like Christopher Walken. You gotta fluctuate things with him. Uh, well, I appreciate that. He's one of the ones that I've grown up on. You know, and Uncle Fester as well. But no, and I can do Lurch really good. From the Adams Family. But no, and then you got the Munsters and all that good stuff. The stuff we grew up on. A lot of us grew. Well, no, I don't know the age demographics right here. I know there's a few of us that grew up on that stuff. Um, and that's the good golden age of television right there. If you remember those TV shows, and I know they've got them in syndication and reruns and things of that nature, where you can watch the whole series on like Hulu or Netflix or some channel out there, some streaming service out there. Absolutely 100%. And then you can find pretty much any movie or TV show that you want out there on a streaming service, and you can find a lot of them out there for free. Popcorn Flicks is a free one. Pluto TV is a free one. Uh, the list goes on and on. I've got several on my Roku device. You know, Bernie Sanders sounds like an aardvark. Oh, so there's a lot of good sound clips out there from people. Because people do their thing and they like they sound like a sound clip all on their own. You know, so I get that sentiment in that statement right there. But yeah, and we got Ketchup Master in the crew. Welcome, Ketchup Master. Got surprised with that. Why 4:12 a.m.? Because that's when I used to wake up on a regular basis, and that is the time frame. It's not from a passage in a Bible or a book anywhere. It is a time frame. And Mel Brooks was a crowd in one. Absolutely. And so 412 came about, and we'll tell you the story. Um, I used to get up with my grandpa to go fishing and stuff like that. We would get up, around that 4:12 time frame, sometimes earlier, depending on where we were going fishing. And that stuck with me for a long time, even before I joined the military. And once, a lot of times, I would roll over and I'd have the alarm clock there, and 4:12 would be on the screen. Well, later on, whenever we started getting the cell phones and things, you know, uh, probably about 6, almost 7 years ago, I roll over in the morning, pick up my phone, and it says 412. I'm like, okay, great, 412. I can go back to sleep for a little bit. And as soon as I rolled over and closed my eyes, this word productions just came across my vision. And it was like, what does that mean? Productions. And I was like, 412 Productions. Well, that's a catchy title. So I just put it in the back burner for a long time. Well, come fast forward to 2024, and the year is ending, and sales are slow, and of my artwork and things of that nature. And I'm like, I need to do something different. It's time for a change. So I created 412 Productions because it was in the back of my mind, and I'd had been sitting on it for close to 7 years, and it was just like, huh, it's time to do something with that. So that's when the alien logo came into play, right over here, 412 Productions, which you can see on my website and all that good stuff, and it's just a time frame of when I used to wake up on a regular basis. Now I wake up before then, but but I try to go live at 4:12 a.m. in the morning. You know, I've tried other time slots, and I do okay, but it seems to be this 4 o'clock time frame that there's a lot of people awake or getting ready to go to bed or whatever. So before the whole algorithm changed, I used to have, upwards of 4,000 people watching, on a regular basis. And now I'm good to get 10 people to watch on a regular basis. But by the time the end of the show hits, I'm sitting at about 500 viewers, even if they're only here for a couple minutes or whatever. And they're like, whatever. It's just like earlier, my mic wasn't working because that one was dead or dying. And so I don't know how long I was talking before Casey pointed out, I can't hear you. As my mouth is moving. And like I said, oh, we're watching a mime show. All that good stuff. But no. But that's 412, how it came into existence. And so I killed my old business, um, which was AGK back in the day. And even my mother thought I was giving hanging up artwork altogether because of the little tombstone with my logo on it and all that good stuff. And I said, Mom, just hold on, just wait, just be patient. And so whenever midnight, 1 o'clock rolled around on January 1st of 2025, boom, new logo, new business. And from there, everything's done really well, a lot better. And now we offer t-shirts as well. Dun, dun, dun. We got a ton of different t-shirts. I'm getting ready to add another one to the mix. It's a Raven from the DC universe. It's one of my fan favorites of Raven. So, there you go. There's the story of 412 Productions and how it came into existence. Came from basically a waking dream, and we haven't looked back since, and we won't. But we've been doing artwork for as long as I can remember. Like I said, I've got one of my fifth grade drawings sitting right down here that survived the house fire, right there. That I went on to redo again in when I went to a technical college, Platt College to be exact, and created that as a new piece, as a creature with a big C behind it, and that incorporated into a cave and all that good stuff. So there you go. So we had to use a letter and of the alphabet and create something with that letter. And I just remembered, hey, this is a creature. I'll use a C. There you go, done. And I just redrew it as it is, as you saw it there. Just a little different, a little bit more defined, if you will. So, but no, 412 Productions came from a time, and just an early morning hour of sleepless nights, if you will, and good morning, parent. We were just talking about some paranormal stuff, so if you're here, for that. We've already talked about that, and you might see an orb or two fly by. We don't know. Caught one just a little bit earlier, probably around the 50 some odd minute mark. If I had to guess, somewhere around that, I'll go back and look for it. So, who did the voices for Looney Tunes? Mel Blanc, yes. Mel Blanc did a lot of Looney Tune characters, but you had so many others. Um, I can't give you the list of everybody, but Mel Blanc did a lot. And from Bugs Bunny to maybe even Daffy Duck, but he did a lot of voices. You know, and I didn't mean to miss any of your texting in there about Mel Blancs, and you started with Mel Brooks, which is all good because he does a lot of voices too, and it's kind of cool that he's coming, back into the role of Yogurt uh, for Spaceballs 2, and he's what 98 years old and going to be painted gold again. So, you know, and then Rick Moranis coming out of retirement, and that's pretty cool stuff. Um, and I understand why he took a step back because his wife passed away. He was raising his kids, so he went back to his, you know, um, day job, if you will, and stepped away from the acting world. And which is kudos to him. I mean, he wanted to take care of his family, and whereas you see a lot of people that are like, well, my family can be taken care of if I keep working, in the industry. You know, there is a guy on here that can sing in 27 different sounding voices of artists. That's awesome. I don't know if I'm that talented or not, but that's very cool. I've seen several of these guys that sing in different, um, like one guy does. What if this song was sung by Korn, or what if this song was sung by Slipknot, or those type of things. And it could be the same guy, um, but very cool. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there in the world, you included, Casey. And you're like the bird whisperer for the big old spoonbill, you know. And so you've got a lot of other talents as well, but that's just one of them. And so, but no, there's tons of talented people out here, and I don't know how talented I really am. I just do what I do. What I do does not define me. Um, it's what's in here that defines who I am. A lot of people get hung up on, well, I'm this, well, I'm that, well, what are you whenever you're not that? Like we've talked about before. What defines you as a person? Not what is your hobby or your job, because I can't even call what I do a job because it's a hobby, because a job entails something you really don't like most of the time, where you're going to be unhappy whenever you walk into the environment. Like the girlfriend, whenever she goes to work, she does not like where she works. But we've tried to get her to do other things, and she always has these lofty ambitions and goals and things like that. And one of these days she'll break free of it, either that or step up, and take a team lead position and then go to a coaching position. 'Cause that's where the real money is the coaching position. Unfortunately, at Wally World, you know, because they get an astronomical bonus, which is ridiculous. I just killed him. I just killed him. I can't believe it. I'll have to, I'll have to remedy that because that's not cool. Sorry, little feller. We'll get you repaired. I promise. Just took his foot off. so, um, so I can't call this a job what I do, nor homesteading, even though they are jobs. But that would entail meaning that, hey, I don't like what I'm doing, you know. And yes, 30.8 to be exact, Casey. Thank you all for the likes, the shares, and the follows, and the comments. I do appreciate the comments. And it's without you guys coming on here and commenting, or um, sending other people this way by your shares, and those type of situations, we wouldn't have a show. You know, Well, I appreciate that. This is one of my artwork pieces. So if you want one, hit me up. We can hook you up with some shirts. Just hit me up in the DMs and we'll be good. But Uncle Dave out there, I appreciate it. And so, you know, the whole aspect of not liking what you do. Yes, I know. I'll get a restriction up there. The show will be restricted because of Okay, cool. I'll hit you up in the DM after, and we'll go from there. But I got a lot of different things that we can talk about. Right here. I got several. But yeah, we got all kinds. And like I said, I'm getting ready to add a new one with Raven from the DC universe, one of my fan favorites of her. And so that one's pretty cool. But yes, this is based off a painting that I did. There's two of them that I did, and the first one sold just like that. I still own the second painting of this one, which is still out there for sale, um, which is sitting right back there on top of the Dexter on the ground. But yeah, no, the whole aspect of you aren't what you do, and a lot of people just don't understand that, and then they don't fathom that. Well, what am I if I'm not an artist or a musician or a voice actor or a a creator, a content creator or whatever. Well, what are you? What do you do whenever you're not doing that? What defines you as a human being? Me, I'm an alien, but I just hurt one of my patrons there in that 3D print. I gotta put him back together. But what are you whenever you're not doing those things? You know, and that's where you've got to get in life is to be able to be like, okay, so this doesn't define me as a person, but how I act and how I react and how I treat and how I harm and how I this that and the other that defines you as a human. Uh, and unfortunately, some people don't look at it that way. They look at it more in the aspect of, well, no, I'm an artist. That's all I am. I am an actor. That's all I am. I am a nurse. That's all I am. I am a doctor. That's all I am. You know, they don't look at what they are whenever they're not doing that, and that's what we have to look at as people. I'm a boy. No, I thought you were a man. I'm a guy. And now we all have our childish moments. Whenever we think something's funny, and other people are like, um, "What's wrong with you?" Well, it's just my childish nature, because we're supposed to be presented as a child, right? Which always seemed kind of creepy to me. Um, Again, we're not going to get started on that topic. Um, but I think farts at the table is funny. See, and that is funny. It's just like I was watching a creator on here that, as a kid, that he was like talking about the 6-7 movement, which can be taken any direction you want. And he was like, "Yeah, kids today, they think 6-7 is funny. 6-7 as he's adjusting the temperature in his car. He's like, yeah, 6-7, 6-7, all that. They think that's funny." And he gets to 69 on his uh, temperature, and then he starts laughing. Because we think that's funny too. You know, anytime anybody says 69, we start giggling a little bit to ourselves. You and or out loud to other people. It's just you got to read the room. You know, but no, I get it. A lot of things we can still be childish with. You know, but there comes the time when you have to be the adult in the room, if you will. And none of us like to do that. I don't like to be the adult in the room. Let me be a perpetual teenager for the rest of my life. And I mean, as we get older, they say we revert back to childish ways, you know. So, because you come into this world, get into a diaper, you grow up, you get back into a diaper, and then you go out of this world, you know. So, it's just like, let people be childish if they want to be childish, you know. And if they want to be that person, let them be that person. Who are you to be the fun police? You know. And I know that sometimes life isn't fun. And Casey's got an anymore. Is that from um, William Tell or Edgar Allan Poe? You know, anymore. Bring back my Eleanor. But no, it's if someone wants to have fun with their life, who are we to stop them? You know, it makes no sense to me that we want to squash someone having fun. And but so many people are so quick to want to bash somebody else for having fun. You know, no matter what it is. Like people bash people because they're dancing or singing or whatever they're doing on TikTok. Maybe that's their only outlet to express who they really are and who they want to be. And you're over here bad mouthing their show or their broadcast or their post or whatever. And why are you being so negative? You know, the world is negative enough. That's why I don't even watch the news. I barely watch the little pop ups that come up on my phone from Five News here in the local area. You know, because there's so much negativity. There's so much anger and hatred out there. You know, why do you want to contribute to that? It just makes no sense to me. You know, get out there and enjoy some boobs or something. You know, quit being a fuddy duddy. It's just like I bought this down in Texas. We were going through, you know, a an artisan's market out there, and this is from Rosebud and her crew. Very cool woman that I met, and they do the regular filament 3D printing. And here you go. It's a planter is what it really is, but I use it for my markers and pens and stuff like that. But it's a set of boobies, you know, and I have it right here on my desk, and I put my pens and pencils in it. You know, it's just a constant reminder. Go have some fun. You know. Yes, absolutely nice shape. I asked her if they used her as the model, and she kind of snickered and said no, it wasn't her. So even though it could have been. Now she's not that tiny, obviously. She's not a pocket person. She's not one of them cupboard people that you find. But no, um, but she was a cool person. I mean, all the way around. And we sit and Audrey and I sat there and chit chatted with her as I was trying to pick out the color I wanted. You know, and it was just have fun with life. Quit being such a stick in the mud and paint it pink. Well, I mean, it's almost flesh color now. It just needs the areolas to be, either the pinker pink or the browner brown, you know, or the in between, the tannish. Um, but have fun with life is what it boils down to, you know, because if you're just going to be a fuddy duddy stick in the mud, and okay, I got you, and I've got some markers that can actually do that for me right here. The cool markers that the girlfriend picked up because she didn't want me to pick them up before, So she was like, "Hey, I've already got them coming for you." So this party Christmas present, and but have fun. Quit being a stick in the mud. Quit hurting people because they're wanting to have fun. I see so many, like I said, I see so many people with all this negative stuff that people have posted on one of their stories or one of their posts or like that. Do you work on the moving doll anymore? I have not worked on here anymore because I've got a. I think I'm gonna repaint the face and do a little bit different when it comes to the paint. I'm gonna water it down a little bit more to where it just kind of runs like real teardrops and see where it lands. So I'm probably gonna redo the face around that section. Let me just pull this section right here where the teardrops are coming down right now. I'm going to wipe these out completely and then just let the paint run how it wants to run. So I think I'm gonna do that. Turn her on. Oh, hey little baby. No, just kidding. Hey little baby, is your dad home? That's kind of creepy song anyway. Oh, let me put her up here. There you go, Casey. Just for you. She's turned on and she moves. That was the thing I didn't realize that she did rock back and forth. So I'm actually rotating it because it's slowing down. I didn't wind it up enough. And there you go. So I'm gonna wipe those out, those tears that she's got going on, and then I'm going to let the paint just run down her face and end up where it ends up, even if it ends up on the dress, because the dress is going to get jacked up anyway. Um, but the way we were though is fitting because who's to say she isn't haunted? Who's to say that the life that's in here, that's inside of her, isn't you know how she was, how she wants to be, you know. So, I- and I get the death metal. I mean, I would totally 100% like some death metal if I could figure out how to program these things. You know, I totally would because you get some snow globes that you get every now and again that have the worst music but possible that come with them, and it's just like, dude, can I put something else to this? And and I would love to be able to program one of those where I could put whatever music I want, and just like the music box. Now, I could replace the music box with something else. I would have to tear it apart and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to leave it as is. But yes, I could probably even hook up this little guy on her back or under the dress or something like that, and put some death metal in it and let it go, and see if she rocks back and forth to that. Maybe she'll be doing this number. Come in here one day. For creepy dolls, that is a 9 plus. How much do you say? Well, I don't know. Um, this one being my first one, and it's a smaller figure, probably 75 on the scale of that one. Now I've seen people that sell the same style and the same type of paint job and all that stuff for like $200. 250. So, and theirs aren't music boxes either. So I think $75 is a reasonable amount. And then whenever I get a vampire boy here, all painted up, to look like a vampire, he'll be pretty cool too. Get him delinted and all that good stuff because he's got some feathers on him from somebody else's outfit. But we're gonna turn him into a vampire boy. Get his hair fixed up a little bit. You know, he does have a nice little knot in his head right there, and you can see where the glue came down. But we can turn that into some blood. Yeah, he was creepy already, and he's got that old world feel. And I do have a doll stand that I've got Superman Mego in, but you know, he does have the old world feel. He's got the real shoestrings, all that good stuff, even with the little tips on them, But yeah, he would be pretty cool to get turned into a vampire with some blood running down his chin right there from a feast and all that goody good stuff. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff that has to happen with him But the cool thing is he's already got eyelashes. I don't have to put those on there. So, oh, you're saying $40 for him? Since he's just a standard figure, a standard figure. Oh, he is creepy. Yeah, I mean he is creepy as is, and that's we go to Savers a lot, and I look for the creepiest stuff that I can find. I haven't found any creepy ones like these two since, so they were just meant to be. Oh, made in the '40s. Um, I don't think so, since it's got Velcro on it. Um, Here's a tag. Oh no, no, definitely not in the '40s because this is a silicone gel packet, which I'm pretty sure they didn't have back then. I'm just looking for any markings on this kid. I'm not trying to be creepy with him in any way, but because generally there's a tag in here, like on her, there's a tag on her that shows me what year she was made. And he's your standard, you know, doll with the porcelain hands and all that stuff, with the wire inside. So I'm just kind of looking to see if there's any tags or anything like that on him, which I am not seeing at this present juncture, which is highly unusual. Now, it's not highly unusual because sometimes with these they were on a wrist hanger right here as well. So I'm not finding a tag anywhere on this kid. You know, not even in the clothing. So I couldn't tell you. I'd probably take a picture of him and get you an idea. It was probably more like, if I had to guess, probably '90s to early 2000s, possibly. But I'm probably gonna say in the '90s, maybe even the '80s when this one was made. But I'll take some pictures of it and see if I can find anything. Oh, excuse me, similar to it out there. But yeah, but yeah. No, it's been a good show, folks. I appreciate each and every one of you stopping in, checking out the channel, and being here with us. It was a rough morning all the way around, anger and so much more. So, which means I got to get some things taken care of outside so that we can live in a little bit more harmony. But you all have a great day, and I'm going to kill it for today. And as I like to say, as I leave you guys, my nice little tagline: we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.